Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, in part three of our entertainment show, each week we have a special feature called Into the Vault, where we look back at iconic movies throughout the decades. Whether it's a 70s western, maybe it's an 80s police detective show, maybe it's a 90s futuristic movie, maybe it's a 2000 romantic story, or maybe it's a 21st century horror. We look at all the genres. We look at all the teams going back throughout the decades, and we've looked at some real iconic movies throughout the years. And this week we're going back to 1992 now, back in the early 90s, and a really sort of suspense sort of thriller movie. In terms that it really set the tone. It was a cast at the time, a movie, and in terms of a plot that people expected maybe good things about, in terms of a performance, but the final product and the essence that it left on the TV entertainment industry has defined the era as sort of such, and it's considered as one of the sort of modern sort of cult classic movies. It stars Rebecca De Mornay as Peyton Flanders, Annabelle Scorsese as Claire Bartel, Julianne Moore, the famous Julianne Moore as Marilyn Craig, the one and only Ernie Hudson that we know from Ghostbusters as Solomon, and also the one and only Q from Star Trek, as we know him, the one and only legendary John de Lancie. But our special guest this evening, and he might be familiar to all your sort of faces, especially if you've seen detective shows or detective series, or you've seen a modern sort of courtsman or lawyer throughout the years. He's played an awful lot of those roles on TV as well. He played the role of Michael Bartel in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, the one and only Matt McCoy. Matt, pleasure to have you on with us this evening. And wow, 1992. Wow, it must feel like a lifetime ago at this stage. And if I said to you maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you said 1992, and you'd be like, yeah, sure, that wasn't too long ago. But it's a long time now, Matt, isn't it?
No, I don't think I would have said that just a couple of years ago, Jim. It is a long time ago. But let me get back to your introduction, Jim. Beautifully done. The fact that you put the only on there with me, you gave that to Ernie Hudson and to John de Lancie. So to put moniker on me, I appreciate that very much. They're wonderful guys, and no, it was we're going back 32 years here, 1992. So, but the memories are remarkable. The people were remarkable. Rebecca De Mornay, Annabelle Sciorra, Ernie, as you mentioned. These people are still hold a very special place in my heart.
And Matt, was it that big blockbuster movie for you at that time? Was that the sort of, I know you had been in productions maybe in the late 80s and you've been on a TV series, but was this the real sort of the big eye catcher movie? Or did you, as we said in the intro, did you see this as another movie in terms of production, and maybe thought yourself, yeah, it might go places? And were you surprised to see how it blew up really in terms of, and it seemed to stay relevant in terms of, it never really sort of faded, dare I say?
No, I agree with you. I had done the Police Academy movies prior to this in the late 80s. I did Police Academy 5, Police Academy 6 for Warner Brothers. But yeah, this was a big leap for me, Jim, in 92. It was a Disney production. It was the wing called Hollywood Pictures, but it was out of Disney, which is unusual and would probably be unusual today for Disney to produce a movie like this. But I don't think you ever know going into something whether it's going to be a hit or not. You certainly look around at the people you're in bed with, the director, the producer, the writer, and I think we knew we had something special. But a lot of times that doesn't translate, and it did in this particular one. Curtis Hanson, who directed this and who directed me in LA Confidential, was at the helm, and we were in wonderful hands with him, not only as a director, but as a writer. He didn't write this, but he's a writer. So if we ever hit any sort of little wall in shooting, he was right there to navigate it for us and to get us to the other side.
And I suppose in terms of this, they say the script that makes the movie, in terms of actors sort of portrayed as characters, which you can't beat great writing, and that's something The Hand That Rocks the Cradle had in terms of all its characters. It had great sort of writing in terms of its suspense, in terms of the story that it was able to portray. And as an actor, when you looked at the script, did it give you sort of goosebumps in terms of yourself to, wow, this is a real sort of, there's meat in the bones, dare I say, in terms of this?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, at the time, if I go back 32 years, I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old in my family. So it resonated with me very much, bringing somebody into the home to help out. And, anytime you bring somebody into your home, you're trusting them. You're trusting them not only with your children, but with your family. And so when that trust is violated, as it was in this picture, yeah, it resonated very closely with me. And Rebecca de Mornay did such a great job coming in there. But I think what resonated when I read it, Jim, was just the sense of family and how you circle the wagons when your family's in trouble. And that's certainly what we did in this.
And I suppose in terms of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, in terms of it's sort of, we all know some movies you can sort of see, you can play out the sort of sequence. You can see, well, we're the start, we're just getting into the build up. Then there's the sort of middle, the sort of guess who, and then there's the conclusion, the sort of outcome. But The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, it had you sort of constantly thinking as someone, a viewer of cinema or goer, as if to say, what's happening next? You're always, as you were taking the audience was unsure the whole time in terms of how it could play out, in terms of the angles, in terms of that. So there was nothing, dare I say, straightforward about the movie in terms of that. It had you sort of gripped from its thing to say, well, what sort of twist is it going to take now?
Well, I agree with you. And that goes back to the writing. We came out at a time when Fatal Attraction came out as well, and you had that betrayal in Fatal Attraction, and you had that betrayal once again in our picture. So it seemed to resonate. I mean, it did very, very well over here. We were #1 at the box office for 4 or 5 weeks. And it goes back to the writing. And I don't think you could really quite grasp as an audience that somebody would be undermining your family as Rebecca did in this movie. It was just unfathomable that somebody could come into your home and really just with nuance cause such a disruption in your family. And that's how it unraveled.
And Matt, I know you've been in the business a long time. You've done an awful lot. I'm not going to ask you about the particular production sort of shoot in terms of that. But was there anything unusual about this sort of production or anything? Or was it just a standard normal one? You're in for 6 weeks. You 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in for the wardrobe, sort of shoot the scene, sort of maybe take 2 or 3 sort of takes on a certain scene and lock shooting? Or was there something different or something happened about this that made you said, yeah, that's a bit quirky or something like that, but it sort of resonated with yourself that, yeah, this could be different than the normal sort of 6 to 6 grind in terms of what I'm doing?
Well, I think the difference, I would probably go back to the director, Curtis Hanson, who was your master. He would he had such tunnel vision about what he wanted and what he wanted to create. And my relationship with Annabella was very, very strong throughout the movie. I felt like we were a family. Anytime you have those feelings as an actor, I think it's going to come across on the screen. You've started a relationship. We rehearsed for 2 weeks prior to shooting, which doesn't happen anymore. So just creating that sense off camera before we went on camera was probably one of the most special things that I remember about it. Relationships and what we forged off screen, and what we to the scenes when we shot them. So, but it all started with Curtis. And that same holds true in El Confidential too. Just all subtle, nuanced things that Curtis did really resonate.
Mm. And I suppose, Matt, in terms of, you mentioned its relevance there, and as a sort of a cast, and I know you've seen in terms of relationship with actors and actors, they sort of come and go, but as a cast, maybe the screening back in 1992, the relevance in terms of, did you always think that maybe, sometimes some famous sitcoms or TV movies, that the actors are sort of bound to it by its sort of success in terms of that story. And I suppose there's something unique when you hit gold in terms of a movie, that the people that are portrayed in that movie, they have a sort of, there's a fondness or a relationship there that you were part of that sort of a project. So that inherence never sort of leaves. And did it to form a close bond with you, with any of those actors or actresses throughout the years, that when you met them, that you sort of said to yourself afterwards, yeah, this is something that put us on our way to the top?
Well, I like to think I formed a relationship with everyone. Rebecca de Mornay, who played the nanny, I sort of made a choice not to get so close to her during the production. I mean, there's a real arc in that, Jim, where she and I are very, very close, and then I start to see exactly what she's doing. So I think the relationship with Annabella, playing husband and wife, and Ernie Hudson, who I did a picture with just a couple of years ago, and that relationship has stayed strong over the years. So, being on set is it's lightning in a bottle. You know it's going to end, and sometimes you meet people that those relationships carry on. Sometimes you don't, but it's a really it's a really wonderful sort of bubble that you're in during the time you're shooting. We took probably 3 months to shoot this movie, which also is a long time by the standards that are out there today. Up in Seattle. So it was to get out of town, to get away from my family in a sense, and create an imaginary family, and try to find truth in that. And I think we did that. And I treasure each one of those relationships to this day.
And Matt, I know you're a very prominent actor in the business, and you're still very much relevant. Tell me, what's 2023 like for Matt McCoy, heading in now to the, dare I say, the second quarter of the year? Is it sort of busy? Have you numerous guest appearances on TV series, sitcoms? Have you a movie coming our way that we might see in Ireland and the UK later on in 2023? Is Matt McCoy still on the go 24/7?
Well, I've got a series on the air now, Jim, called The Mosquito Coast. It's on Apple TV, and it just dropped, I think, last November, so 3 or 4 months ago. And we were down in Mexico shooting it with Justin Theroux, and I start the second season of that with him. So I'm shooting a small picture this week for a buddy of mine. I continue. I've been doing this for close to 45 years, which is remarkable. They're not on to me yet, Jim. They haven't quite figured me out yet. But I've got 3 kids. I've been married for 38 years. I've got 5 grandkids, and the fact that I am in this business and continue to work in this business is a total gift. I know how blessed I am just to still be working and be relevant, as you say, which I appreciate very much.
And Matt, dare I say the surname? I was just trying to think, has that got more Scottish or Irish relevance to it? McCoy, is it more Scottish or is it more Irish, or in terms of the genealogy behind it? Because I know you've been to Ireland a few times, but in terms of your heritage?
Yeah, it's my mom's side. It's County Kerry. It's the Failey, Fealey, from County Kerry. But there's a piece of me in Ireland with you there, Jim. I used to go over there on a youth leadership program, and we stayed out at Maynooth College outside of Dublin, and it was called the Albert Schweitzer Leadership for Life, and we would bring kids in from all over the world. and I was the ambassador for this program. And I've traveled all through Ireland. I've traveled there with my family through Galway. There's a little restaurant just a little bit south of Galway, Jim, called Moran's. You've been to Moran's, yes?
I've heard of it. I have heard of it passing through. Galway would be the next to our county. I'm in County Clare myself, so that's just next to County Galway. It's just the next one up.
Yeah. You're frozen on me again.
No, yeah, it's just the next one up, County Clare. I'm in County Clare, so County Galway is the next county up. So I passed by it. I passed by it a few times, but I haven't stepped in there. I take it you're a fan?
I'm a big fan. Don't use my name, Jim, when you go in there, because things could get ugly very quickly.
Okay.
But I haven't been back to the Emerald Isle in probably 5 years, so I hope to rectify that in the very, very near future.
And Matt, before we start to wrap up, in terms of, you're obviously a well-renowned actor, you're very much versed in the business. If I said to you, in terms of Matt McCoy, what would you deem as a cult classic movie? What would be a theme that sort of resonates to you, that sort of stands out from the mass and all these sort of big Hollywood productions throughout the years, that someone could say in 20 years' time, that someone can maybe pop onto their TV screens, laptops, flick on a movie and see that and bring them on an imagination or a story all again? When you think of a classic movie, what is it? What stands out for you? What resonates for you? And why do you think The Hand That Rocks the Cradle stood out in 1992 and stood out in the 90s?
Well, I appreciate that. If I think of a movie that I would like people to see that is a representation of my career, I would say Hand That Rocks the Cradle would be certainly up there at the top. It struck a chord, Jim. It struck a chord. You had a lot of young families out there. I think that we're struggling, as so many families are, trying to have it all, trying to go out there to work and to have a family. And so I think it struck that chord of, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. And I think that's why it struck a chord. People were struggling with the same things that we were struggling with in the movie. So, but if I had to pick a movie that resonates with me and about my life, it would be It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart, he and I share the same birthday, and I've always felt a connection to him. And I feel like the life I have, it's really playing out within those parameters of It Is a Wonderful Life.
On that note, what a fantastic sentence to start to finish. It has been a wonderful life for Matt McCoy, and is still giving us more to this present day. We look very much in fun. Do check out Matt McCoy when Mosquito does come our way here in Ireland and the UK, and the near future, as out since November in the United States. So it's only a matter of time before it hits our TV screens here in Ireland. Do check out Matt. He's in season 2 of that. And Matt McCoy, thanks for joining us into the vault this week. You played the role of Michael Bartel in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a constant feature on all our TV screens, even throughout the decades. Matt, an absolute pleasure. And County Galway is beckoning you once more, Matt. 5 years, they won't be like it unless you visit them again.
I'll track you down, Jim. I sure appreciate your time.
Cheers, Matt. Take care, buddy.
Be well, pal. Thank you.